few weeks ago, I was able to visit the NerdWallet San Francisco office and chat with some of my fellow nerds about the financial lessons that they wish they'd learned sooner. If you missed it, be sure to check out that video. We talked about travel, saving, investing, and other financial goals. But during the warm-up questions, I heard so many great stories around college life that I decided it deserved its own video. I asked my coworkers about their college journeys and whether they felt college was worth the investment. Here's what they had to say. Where did you go to school, Andy?
I went to school at Clarkson University, and I came to California to go to graduate school at UC Berkeley.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you study?
Chemistry.
Different.
Yes.
Very different.
I was there for a semester and ended up figuring out that I wanted a job instead and got into tech.
Do you feel like the investment was worth it?
Yes, I think so, because it deepened my critical thinking skills.
Love that.
But I don't think, because I do something very different than what my degree was in, I kind of look at it a little bit differently. Yeah.
I think that that's an important point, that I feel like everybody's definition of worth it or was it a successful experience might be a little bit different. Like
Exactly,
some
yeah.
people might meet their partner in college, which would make it worth it just for that, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
So cool that you have that perspective.
I think a lot of people get fixated on a major, and I think that's one of the least important things.
Yeah, a lot of finding yourself and becoming a proper adult human can happen in college. So what do you do here at NerdWallet?
So I am a data engineer. That's how we make better business decisions.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's this misconception that a high schooler has to know exactly what they want to do with the rest of their life, which just isn't true. You have the power to pivot based on what feels right for you. And really, only about 46% of college grads work in their field of study. So you're in good company if you do decide to change course along the road. And where'd you go to school?
I did my undergrad at NYU,
Oh.
and then I did my master's in England at the University of Manchester.
Wow. And what did you study?
Undergrad, I did international politics and economics, and then for my master's, I looked at globalization and development.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it was worth it, going to college, investing money?
Whew. Now that's a tricky question, and I have to say between my undergrad and my master's, I have two different answers. My undergrad was expensive. It was very, very expensive. We had to take out student loans, and like looking back, it's hard to say that it was really justified just for the amount that it was, $50,000, $60,000 a year. You know. Did I get a fantastic education, and has it helped me? Of course it has, but the price tag was very high.
Yeah.
For my master's degree, I mean, it was an awesome investment because, you know, abroad, college is so much more affordable. So even if I was going to England, it's like to do my master's was, you know, a fraction of what it would have been in the US. And at least with my master's, it was something I really wanted to study, like really, really wanted to go back to school for. For me, that investment was completely worth it.
You got to live in London.
I had to live in London.
Does not sound terrible. That
No,
sounds pretty
not
awesome.
at all.
And what do you do for NerdWallet?
So I'm a writer on the personal loans team.
Ooh, so what exactly does writing in the financial space entail?
It requires just research, understanding of the topic, understanding of the reader, what are they looking for, what information are they looking to know, because sometimes like maybe a product or a bank or a company has information they want to give, but like the reader doesn't always need that or want that. So just, identifying the balance between those two and making sure we're writing in a way that's easy, comfortable, and not pushing any which way on a certain decision so that the reader can come to that decision with all the information they need.
With the average four-year undergrad tuition costing $35,551 and the average graduate having around $30,000 in student loan debt, the exorbitant cost of college is a primary deterrent for those determining whether or not to go to college. There are a lot of options and resources to help subsidize some of the costs. Grants and scholarships can help alleviate the financial burden of tuition, books, housing, and other costs related to higher education. StudentAid.gov is an excellent resource for learning more about financial options. Where did you go to school?
Yeah, I went to Harvard, and
I think I've heard of that.
yeah.
Awesome. And what did you study?
Yeah, so I studied psychology and economics. I was trying to get like a flavor of behavioral economics in there. Personal finance is important to me.
Yeah, that's
so.
cool. Big question. Do you feel like it was worth it? Like, do you feel like the investment of higher education was worth it?
Yeah, so I Kind of like, I think, a bit of a unique case. I had a single mother, so it was like low income, and so going to college was not like a huge cost to me. So I more or less got a full ride. Like I would say the amount that I ended up paying for college was pretty small.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you remember, gonna do a little history lesson for you, put you on the spot, your very first job ever?
I didn't work during school, which I was really lucky for.
Yeah,
I think my mom just really wanted me to focus on education.
Love that.
Like I think a big refrain for us was, sorry, just gonna say it now, but it was like labor for learning before you go old, for learning. Learning is better than silver and gold. Silver and gold will vanish away, but a good education will never decay.
Did your family like invent
Yeah.
that quote? I love that.
So that was pretty big.
Trademark.
Yeah, that was pretty big for us. I emigrated from Jamaica when I was like 7, and then it was like pretty education focused, and we weren't super familiar with like the landscape here, and it was just like kind of serendipity a bit, and some work on my part and my family's part, but
Awesome.
it kind of worked out.
And what do you do for NerdWallet?
So I'm a BizOps and strategy associate.
Oh, what does that mean? What do you do?
So in general, my team is helping NerdWallet really focus in on high priority areas, figuring out the strategy, the operations, just adding a lot of buzzwords there. But yeah, just figuring out what we should do, how we should do it, and making sure that we're operating efficiently.
More than 1 million international students study at colleges and universities across the U.S. Understanding the options available can be a little confusing, especially if you're new in the country. There are a lot of resources that can help. The Department of State website would be a good place to start. Where did you go to school?
I did my undergrad at Wisconsin, and then I did a dual degree master's program at Northwestern.
Awesome. What did you study?
Undergrad, I studied industrial engineering, and for my master's, I got my MBA, but then I did a dual degree program where I got my master's in engineering management and a certificate in design and innovation.
Wow, that is awesome.
A nerd through and through.
Yes, truly.
Yeah.
So do you feel like it was worth it? Do you feel like going to college was worth the investment?
Yes, 100%. So like, you might measure it differently than I do. I will say I made more money before I got my MBA than I did after I got my MBA. I had like a different style of job, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to have a seat at a different table. And so for me, it was worth it. And plus like the people I met, the network, all of that was sort of immeasurable.
Yeah. What do you do here for NerdWallet?
I work in business development. So I manage partners.
Interesting. Business development. So in general, what would a day look like in business development, just in general?
Yeah, it could be a mix of like having partner calls, meeting with partners. For example, one of the financial institutions that NerdWallet has featured on the site as a recommendation for consumers. A mix of sort of strategic development around like, well, what do we want to do next? What sort of value drivers do we want to create? So sitting with the team, huddling. I spend a lot of time looking at numbers, and data and thinking through like, how do we measure success? How do we define success for the future? Things like that.
Everyone's idea of success is different, and we all have our own set of values that help drive our decisions and level of happiness. For some, the cost of college isn't worth it. For others, the potential post-grad employment opportunities are well worth the price. For me, I always knew that college was in the cards. I had great social experiences and also nurtured my love of communications. It's also the space where I transitioned from a terminally shy kid to the chatty being that you see before you. So it was worth it for me. Ultimately, the decision is personal, and as we've seen today, everyone's journey is a little different. Generally, statistics show that earning a college degree leads to more pay, steadier employment, better benefits, and more career options. A recent study by the Federal Reserve points to fewer education-related regrets among those who have earned degrees compared with those who have not. But college is an investment in both your time and money. Don't be afraid to talk to those around you as you decide. You never know what unique insight you might get. I'm sure that one of the first things that came to mind when I mentioned college decisions is student loan forgiveness. A lot has been changing rather quickly there, so be sure to pop over to nerdwallet.com to stay up to date on all things student loan. Bye!